Right, hello everyone. Thank you for tuning into this special bonus episode. So what I thought I would do, every couple episodes, I wanted to give you a candid conversation. So this will be available on audio only, and it will be quite a deep topic that you'll definitely be able to relate to. So I'm having a conversation today with my friend, and we are going to be discussing various topics centered around body image, whether that is surgery, weight loss, and just having a discussion about how we've come to terms with our body, or if we're still coming to terms. I love this because it actually reminds me of when I first started The Good Space in my room with like my mic just hooked up to my working from home desk because it was peak pandemic times, and I had an episode called Plus Size Problems, and I was literally just venting about being plus size and all the issues that come along with it, and it was just really candid and honest, and I'm liking that I can bring it back to that place. So a couple years after that episode, I actually had a gastric sleeve surgery. If you don't know what that is, basically the doctor cuts out 80% of your stomach. That was I want to lie and say, yeah, I really thought about it. I didn't think about it that much. I didn't think about it that much. I was just like, yeah, no, this is it, because I've tried stuff and I'm just going to do it. So I did it. I went to Turkey. I'm open about it. It's on my social media and I've spoken about it online as well. And then I got it done, and it's been like a year or so. And I'm still in a place where I'm like, because it did not do what I wanted it to do. So that's definitely what sparked this conversation now. It's like, when are you happy? Is there a cutoff point? How do you decide when you're happy? And I'm having a conversation with a very dear friend of mine today. She'll be coming from a different lens, I would say, but it's still under the whole guise of like body image and how that makes you feel. So, friend.
Hello, friend.
So I just spoke briefly about like my surgery. Do you want to just like speak about like maybe the procedures you've had or planning to have or whatever?
Yeah, sure. So today I've had how would I define it? Okay, so I've had, I guess what people are familiar with, like a Brazilian butt lift. I've had that done twice. I've had liposuction done twice and one tummy tuck. I've had a breast reduction. I've had 2 breast reductions, and then at the end of this month, actually, I'll be going to get my gastric surgery. Yeah. So I guess they all come under the umbrella of cosmetic surgery. Yeah. So all of those procedures, they've happened over a period of, I would say, maybe 5 years. Yeah. I think my first operation was 2018, and then here will be the end of this month will be my next one, and they've happened over the course of 3 different times. Once I went to Turkey, and the other 2 times I went to the Dominican Republic.
Love DR. Sorry, that's not the point, but I actually love DR. Do you feel like you thought about yours? Because I remember when I first met you, I think you were prepping for your first one. Is that correct?
I think the time you met me, I was prepping for my second surgery, but first Dominican surgery.
Okay, cool. And I feel like you researched.
So the first one, that was quite sporadic. I don't think a lot of planning necessarily went into that. It was more so like I was getting, to be fair, I feel like one day I just woke up and all this weight was just on me. And for a long time I would say, I don't know if denial is the way to frame it, but I didn't feel like I'd put on that much weight. But those closest to me, who I know have my like best interests at heart, they were like, this is not like what's going on. And then I was like, oh, maybe something is going on. Yeah. So I remember, to be quite candid, I had a holiday that was coming up, like a party island holiday. I think it was Fresh Island, Croatia. I think that was it. Yeah. And that was coming up, and all this weight I'd put on, I was just like, ugh, no, this has to go. And even though that was already in the works for it to happen, I'd had a conversation with a friend who at the time I'd recently made up with. And she had said that while we weren't talking, during the period where I was saving up, I was really body conscious. So I didn't want to go out. I didn't want people to see me. So it was kind of like, you need my house, you need my house. So I guess that period where we weren't friends, in addition to her not being able to see me because one, we're not friends, it was also like, I guess I was quote unquote hiding.
Yeah.
So she had made a comment to me like, oh, another mutual friend of ours that I was no longer friends with had just said that, oh, the reason so and so is not like, you're not seeing them around as much is because she's gotten fat.
Wow.
And then to me, being that those two people weren't really in my day-to-day life anymore, the fact that I guess information had made its way back to them, I guess to me was like really scary. I was just like, oh, so does everyone think I'm fat now? So even though the surgery was already planned to have like to go on like a couple months after that, I guess that incident was more reaffirming to me that I need to then do it. So the first time I went to Turkey, I had an amazing experience. The hospital was really clean. It was amazing. The doctor was really nice. I had liposuction done and my first ever BBL.
Sorry, was that one day?
One day, yeah.
Okay,
so it's a joint
cool.
surgery. So it's liposuction. It's a BBL. Turkey, I feel like there's more restrictions than there are in DR in terms of how much fat they can remove and re-inject. So yeah, I think that the operation itself is about 4 hours. You come out. It was like an undescribable pain that I've never experienced in my life. Like everywhere was hard. But because at that time I was following a lot of like surgery pages like on Instagram, and I guess there's like a secret surgery community on Instagram where you can make like surgery pages and you'll build like a following from there, not a following in like a creator kind of sense, but just in a community kind of sense. So girls would be sharing tips. So from that I kind of knew what to expect, what products to buy. So I had quite a seamless experience the first time round. That was fine. I guess my eating habits didn't really change. So 2 years later, or even maybe I want to say a year later, actually, I was like, I don't like this anymore. And I guess the look that I got after my first time, of course, I was smaller and more curved than I was ever before. And I think at that time in like 2018, not a lot of people in the UK, I knew at least, had Instagram. I'm sorry, had any cosmetic surgery.
Absolutely, you are like the first person.
The only kind of influencer I knew at the time was Esther from Backchat. She had it, so I think I literally went 2 months after Esther had gone. So I guess because she kind of seemed to have had a positive experience too, that kind of made me feel like, you know what, this is going to be cool. So I had that done. After the first time, I feel like I had this like new lease on life. Like I was so happy. I didn't have this like pudge anymore. I was more curvy. I was just over the moon. I feel like I gained a confidence that I didn't have anymore, and I was just so ecstatic. I was just over the moon with that. So I guess those kind of feelings, it kind of became like a high I had to chase, because all the time, because I guess when you first have surgery done and then you're in your post-surgery garments, you're the smallest you'll ever be, and you look amazing, you feel amazing, and people are telling you you look amazing, and people's treatment of you, I guess, is better. While I've never had bad treatment, or I feel like I've always been someone who's been under the male gaze always, but it was like times 10 after the surgery, which I guess was that in itself was quite reaffirming for me. So when I then healed after the first time, and then I guess this is like the body I have now, I liked it. It was okay. But then it's like that high I had immediately after the first time, I didn't have it anymore. So then I was like, oh, I don't know, like, it's okay. And then I guess because and then also I think whereas America or American culture in terms of the females was starting to become a bit more prominent or a bit more accessible to us in the UK, I would see like these American up and coming influencers at the time. I was like, oh, I like how they look. I want to look like that.
Was there anyone in particular?
So it was who's it? So Ari, like the Carl sister. Ari had a really nice body. I liked how she looked. I'm trying to think. So like there was Alexis Sky. Who was that? I think those are the you had like Nikki. Well, Nikki at the time had never really come out to say she'd had surgery, but you knew she'd had surgery. So it was that kind of thing. So I was like, oh, I want to be more curvy, I want to be this and I want to be that. Because Turkey, you can only take out a certain amount, like a maximum of fat out. It was like, even if I did go back to Turkey again, that kind of vixen-esque physique I was looking for would have taken longer to obtain in Turkey, and at the time I just thought I'm not going to get it here. So that then led me to go to DR the first time, and same amazing experience. I did a BBL again, and instead of doing liposuction again, I did a tummy tuck, so a full tummy tuck. So I don't know if your viewers are familiar with what that is, but it's like they will cut you from one side to the other, so technically from like the top of your hip to the other side of your hip.
So it's that way?
So it's literally like
horizontal.
It's horizontal, so it goes from side to side, because I think she just explained to me that if because of how much stomach fat I had, if she was just to lipo me, it would just become loose, and eventually I would need one anyway.
Okay.
So I think at first when it came to the tummy tuck, I was just like, do I want this massive ugly line that is probably going to be prone to darkening over time? Do I want it? And I kind of went back and forth with the idea of doing it. But just last, I just settled and said, you know what, I want it. So if it, like, I'll get scar sheets and just try to lighten it up as much as possible. So we did that. And then I feel like that was the first time where I looked at my body after me going to DR, where I was like, I love this. Like, this is what this is the happiness I've been, I guess, striving for. I was still kind of growing in my surgery knowledge at the time. So even after I healed, I wore the garments for as long as I was supposed to. You're supposed to wear them for a minimum of 6 months to a year. I think I wore it for a year and a half. You're supposed to go in and to get the garment regularly taken in by a tailor. I did that. I didn't know, I wasn't really aware of what waist trainers and kind of waist training garments were at the time. So I didn't do that. So a year and a half later, I guess loads of things would just life lifed, and I put on weight again. And I was just like,
two questions. First, DR, you said BBL again. Did they change the shape? Like, how does that work?
So
did they just add more, take some out?
So the first time they did it was fine. It was all right. But I wanted it bigger.
Okay.
So they re-injected fat back into my bum again.
Okay.
So that happened the second time, and then in between the second and third time, I just put on weight again, I guess.
So then it just kind of changed.
No, it didn't change. That's the thing that was funny. Out of all the things that would change in those intervals of putting on weight again, my bum never changed. It was my bum never changed. What I noticed was that it's whereas they'd also injected fat into my hips to shape them and make them bigger, when you then put on weight, I was noticing in my case, which is not the case for everyone, when you do put on weight after a BBL or after cosmetic surgery, the fat that had been re-injected into my hips, when I then put on weight, they just became even bigger. And I feel like it started to look somewhat unproportional. So I was just like, I had this really small waist, put on weight, and then now I have these gigantic hips which are even bigger. And to just give, I guess, context to how much the circumference was, I think when I came out of surgery, the circumference was like 50, I don't know, what is it, 50
meters? Centimeters or inches?
50 inches, yeah. And then when I had put on weight, it had gone to like 55, 56.
Okay.
And don't get me wrong, 50 is still a lot.
And is this your hips?
This is my hips, yeah.
Isn't it like it's big hips? Like, that's the thing, right?
That is the thing. So don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I don't think, even now where I'm happy with my body.
Yeah.
I wouldn't ever sit anywhere and say, oh, I have a typical or normal proportionate body. My body is not proportional. I get that. Okay. But if you're gonna have a waist that's 26 inches and then have a hips that are 50 inches, of course that's not proportional. Yeah. But then with the additional weight gain, it then looked even more unproportional, but unproportional to the point where I now didn't like it.
Okay.
Do you get what I mean?
So it wasn't, I'm like, it's not meant to be proportional.
Yeah, it was never meant to be proportional, but I was happy with it. Yeah. But then when I put on weight, it was like, I don't like this anymore. So yeah, that then happened.
And was that after uni, the weight?
That was
the weight gain.
Yeah, the weight gain again. And then the third time I did it again. So the third time I went back to DR, that was my most recent time, and I had a breast reduction and a tummy tuck revision. Yeah, and that was it, to be fair. And then, I came back, and I feel like now, whereas, I've had all these years of surgery experience, I know what to do to make my body look the way I want it to look. Okay. So it's just the aftercare regimen, like it doesn't stop just after the 1 to 2 year mark where you're healed. Like, waist training became so repetitive. So what I would do, I would have a waist wrap. I would wrap that around myself, and then I would have a waist corset.
Okay.
And then for about 2 years, I was religiously wearing that waist wrap and waist corset every day. I would try to, in the beginning, it was about, I would wear it for 23 hours a day. I just wouldn't wear it when I would shower.
Yeah.
Then it went to 12, then it went to 6. And then more recently, as of, let's say, February, I was just like, this is long.
Yeah.
Like, it's not.
Is it made like you just wrap it?
Yes, yeah. So you wrap it around. It's kind of like, you know, what the mummies had in Egypt, like the stuff they would wrap around the mummies.
Yes,
yeah, that's the best way to describe it. And then
yeah.
you would have a mid-length corset on top. And I guess the reason why I was so like, oh, I have to wear this every day, whereas I wasn't going to the gym and I wasn't eating healthily, it was like, to me, if I'm gonna gain weight, fine, but if the midsection gains weight and then everywhere else is as well, I'm just gonna look massive.
Okay.
So that's when I then thought, okay, waist training every day for the rest of my life is not a feasible option. I physically can't do it. It's tedious.
I don't like it.
It's tedious and it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I think at first it's not uncomfortable because your body is so soft and like kind of like floppy after surgery, to where even if you are putting excessive pressures on it through garments, it doesn't feel as crazy,
like
as compact. But then whereby now I'm like 2 years after my last operation, my body doesn't want me to have it on, and I have to take it off, and I have now. But then it's like, oh, like if it grows, which I don't want it to, how do I combat that? So that's what then led me to make the decision to say, okay, I'm gonna get a gastric surgery, and like you said, it's where they cut out a percentage of your stomach, and then, you know, hopefully you just lose the weight. You don't eat and you lose the weight.
Sorry. It's actually more healthy than that. I'm like being a bit dramatic.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
And then I think with the gastric stuff, what's been the most kind of challenging for me is one, because I'm already like I'm a bigger girl, but I don't know if I would personally classify myself as plus size.
I wouldn't.
But I would say I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm like mid-size then. I'm mid-size.
Yeah.
So I guess the concern I had with the gastric was because it's intended for more plus size and whatever's after that. If I then go and get 80% of my stomach cut out, how much am I going to lose? Do you get what I mean? Because I'm already not that big anyway.
Yeah.
So people were just like, yeah, because of, like, people tend to lose a lot of weight on the gastric. You just need to go to the gym. And I know that some people will listen to all this stuff and just think, okay, the common denominator here is you don't want to go to the gym. And you need to go to the gym because that's what's causing you to go back all these times. And I'm like, and if someone said that, I would say 100%. And I should.
She's not delusional.
I'm not delusional. Like, they are 100% right. The way I've kind of been navigating my life is that, I don't like how much weight I have. I'm going to go and suck it out.
Yeah.
And I want to eat what I want to eat, but I also don't want to go to the gym. I'm not perfect.
I need soft life.
I'm not a gym babe. That's not my.
A whole nother
that's
conversation.
not my.
With gym, is it like? Is it the people? Is it actually doing the physical activity?
So one, I feel like I'm a very instant gratification type of babe.
Okay, yeah.
Like I need the results tomorrow. Like I need to look after being on the treadmill when I see it straight away.
Yeah.
And whereas I would go to the gym, see myself in a mirror, and hate what I was seeing, and then that would just be such a deterrent or like off-putting for me to even want to come back. And then the physicality of it, it was just too much. Like it was just I just couldn't do it. So that's then why I was like going, year after year and year after year doing surgeries, and then obviously what's now led me to the gastric. So that's what that was.
Okay, thank you.
No
Thank
worries.
you so much. You shared a lot. Thank you. Going through your story, you spoke about like how your friends or whatever, your ex-friends.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's something you would have done without that happening at the beginning?
Yeah, so
you were already planning it.
Yeah, I was already planning it, so it would have happened.
Yeah.
But I feel like where that situation then manifested later on in my life it didn't manifest in the way of, oh, someone has told me something or someone has said so and so was put on weight, now let me go and do it. It manifested whereby when I then did the surgeries that I already wanted to do to lose the weight, it then became that scenario was an ever playing loop in my head. Whereas now, so like I said to you, I would do it, lose the weight I wanted, and then something would happen, I would put on weight. I then felt a constant pressure now of having to maintain how I looked because the surgery look I had gone and done then became synonymous with this is who so and so is. This is how she looks. So then I then felt the pressure of having to maintain the upkeep associated with this new body of mine because I didn't want a situation to occur again whereby I hear, oh, have you heard so and so has put on weight again? Because I know that was so destabilizing the first time I heard it, even though the first surgery was already in the process. So it's like every time I would then put on weight, as soon as I feel like this is not what it is, the ball would start rolling on planning the second one or the plan, like I said, or the third one. And that became quite tedious because it felt like I was almost not allowing myself the grace of just living my life how I wanted to.
How you want to.
I felt the pressure of, oh, people are going to say I've put on weight again. And then 2, I felt the pressure of this new identity or this new look that is synonymous with who I am now. If I then drift outside the perimeters of what people know and recognize me to be, then I now don't have this identity that's been my life for like the last 6 years.
And you've enjoyed it.
And I've enjoyed it, and I do enjoy it. Now, like while I say that, hearing those things was quite upsetting. At the end of the day, last, I'm the one that's saving up the money to go to these places. Anyway, so it's never a thing whereby I am going for the validation of others. Well, I guess that's kind of twofold. I like the BBL look, the Vixen look, that aesthetic is me. I love that aesthetic. And whereby I understand that it's kind of an emerging thing in the UK or London more specifically, it's my aesthetic and I love it. So it makes me laugh so much when I hear discourse online centered around like, BBL culture's going out of fashion. Girls don't want to be like that anymore. They want to be.
Kim Kardashian's taking it out.
Kim K's taking it out. Everyone's going to be slim now. I'm like, that's good great for them. But to the end of ages, I love this look. I love everything that comes with the aesthetic of. Well, actually, we'll get to that in a second.
You don't like
but,
it. I know what you don't like.
Okay, but for the most part, it's me.
Yes.
And while I may not have, and I know someone could say, oh, well, you weren't born like that, so it wasn't you. Fair, fine, and true. I wasn't born like that, but I learned to love the aesthetic and I wanted it to be me. And it became me, and I love it. So, that was it. So it was more so, 1, I don't want to hear those kind of thoughts that made me sad once upon a time. And 2, I now have to live up to this expectation of what people think I am now, which can become very tedious, very taxing, because it's just like, the aesthetic that I am a part of, there's a lot of upkeep to it. So it's like, if people are expecting me to have, the body, long hair, long lashes, and I love all of that stuff, but doing it repetitively all the time is it's a lot. So that became, while I was also chasing the high of always looking the way I wanted to look, I was also chasing like, I don't even know how to word it, but more so like, this is the life I've created for myself now. I have to maintain it. Do you know what I mean? So that became a lot.
I can really relate in that sense, and it's only hearing you talk about it that it's actually clicked to me like, oh, that's what's going on with you. In the sense that obviously I had my gastric sleeve, and yes, I'm aware I'm not the size I was before. But it's also like, mine is more like, Leo, you've made that announcement that you've taken out 80% of your stomach. And mostly when people take out 80% of the stomach, they look a certain way, and you don't look that way. So it's like, I've had situations where, like, I've heard someone said, or or like, Africans, they can make a comment or two, or like, oh, what's happened? Has it stopped? Is it not working again? Like, bro, come on. So it's like,
it's not nice.
It's not nice. And it does fuel you. And maybe that shouldn't be our fuel, but it does. And that's where I'm like so hard on myself with like gym, on like, okay, what can I do now? What can I do now? Like, do you know what I mean? Because as you said, I've made this announcement. I've decided this is what I want to do, and I'm not getting there. And it is about me thinking like, what are other people thinking? Are they thinking, oh, she just can't do it? Or I'm not even eating, Sha. Their money, their stomach is gone. My body's just not doing what it's supposed to
Yeah.
do. And a part of it is me. A part of me, yes, I want to achieve that thing, hence why I cut out my stomach. But yeah, I have to admit, a part of it is like, I don't like people.
I don't want to
having
hear
that
those.
comments.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear those comments. And the only way I'm never going to hear, well, people always talk, but I'm never going to hear those comments about my weight is if I get to a certain size. So that is fueling me. I'm not gonna lie. That is like a lot of the time why I'm able to get up at 6 a.m. and go to the gym. Yes, it's for me, but it is the comments. It is. I don't want to hear it, and I want to be 100% comfortable where I am. But my thing as well is, do you feel like you have a look and you know, okay, once I get there, or do you think it's always going to be like, actually, let me tweak it a bit here, let me tweak it a bit there?
It's a hard one, because it's like you always look at something and feel like, oh, like I want to do that. Like, for instance, now, like I've had 2 breast reductions. I used to have, I think my breasts were size, like I had a G cup, and then now I think I'm probably at a double D or D, and it's like, now because I was thinking, like, after the gastric's done, oh, I want to get some implants.
I
was thinking, but no, I think my goal was always have smaller breasts and for them to be upright. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So whereas now I have a natural sag that doesn't make me feel uncomfortable, I was like, oh, let me just go and get some implants and have them stand up. So I don't know, maybe it isn't. I don't know. It could be a constant chase for perfection. I don't. But the thing is, it's perfect. If it is, in my case, it's perfection according to my standards. Okay. It's not like I'm chasing this ideal that the world has put out there. I want to be comfortable in my body, and I want to know, and I know what that looks like for me.
Yeah.
So it's not like right now, like Roy, my breasts, I'm happy with them, but it's like, oh, if I have the money to do so, I'll go and do it. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's more so that. And also to add, I think even with the surgery stuff, because I think when I speak to my friends or people who I then get comfortable with, they're like, where are you getting this money from? Because when I was calculating how much money I've spent on surgery today, like I said, it has been over a 5-year period. I think well, without the gastric, it will be £34,000, and that's over the course of from then to here, and that's obviously with the surgery, but the getting to DR is not cheap.
Yeah.
And the last time I went when the whole red zone stuff was happening, so I had to go and stay in Spain for a bit, because I didn't want to then have to stay in a red list hotel or whatever.
Like
so it's like £34,000 over the course of 5 years, and it's tasking. And whereby, like, the income I make is enough for me to survive and live, but it's like, if I'm then trying to survive and live, but I'm trying to do this at the side, it then means that certain sacrifices over the course of my adulthood and like preteens, well, not preteens, but you know what I mean, have had to be made. So like, anytime I have a surgery that I'm planning, I don't go out.
Not outside,
because there's no additional, because realistically, depending on how long I'm taking to save up for it, like I will then have to work out, okay, how much needs to be saved in a month. If it's anywhere in excess of like £600 to like £1,000 a month, I then can't be going outside and JJ my body everywhere. I have to buckle down. But I think I've always been inclined that way, that when I want something and I put my mind to it, I can do it. So even though sacrificing at times have been upsetting, because it's like, I'll look at my friends and it's like, I don't want to wake up one day and feel like my whole 20s have passed me by because I've been in the house majority of the time saving for things to make me happy. Like, it is important, as well as looking into the future as to what I want to look like then, to also live in the present and enjoy what I'm going through. So that's something that I've really come to terms with recently, that I need to also find a way to enjoy in the moment, as well as thinking about the enjoyment of the future. Do you know what I mean? Because I think I got into a space whereby it was work, home, work, overtime, home, save money, work, overtime, home. And then it's like, I kind of felt like I was becoming a slave to myself. Like, there was no enjoyment outside of working so hard so I could pay for my surgery. So it's like, this time around, how I've done the whole saving process has been completely different to like the other surgeries, whereby die by force. I have to enjoy myself while I'm also saving up for it, because I don't want to become like a zombie that all my life's purpose is just saving up money for surgeries. No, I have to live my life like a normal 26-year-old. So that's how it's been.
Okay, so do you still think there's parts like of your body that you need to come to accept, like, just like, leave it alone, this part I just need to accept that this is like this way?
Are there Okay, so the boobs are a complicated one, whereby they were so big, like they started off being so big, but the ideal cup size I wanted at the beginning of like the journey, I guess, of my boobs, I wanted them to be a C or a B cup, ideally a B cup. And I remember the first ever time I had a consultation before surgery for my breast reduction, the doctor was just like, of course we can reduce them, but where you're trying to start and go to cannot be obtained over one period. So I was like, okay, the first time I did it, I went from a G to like a E. I said, okay, smaller than before, it's fine. So then when I did it the second time, I was like, well, if we're at an E now, surely we can go to a B within the next setting. So when they did it, and I was clear as day, I need them to be small. I want them to be tiny. That's what I want. I came out and I just said, what's going on?
Maybe it's just small.
They're still here. And then I just said to myself, and I was like to the doctor, you didn't hear what I said? And they were just like, even though it is from E to a B, that's still a large jump. Like that still can't be obtained. And she was like, to go to where you want to go to, she was like, essentially you would need to do that surgery whereby you literally don't have boobs anymore, like you are like removing them. She was just like, well, and you know what, it probably will differ from doctor to doctor, but the doctor that I trusted to go to just said that I think sometimes I think I don't know the name of the surgery, but like when women like if they have breast cancer and they have to get their boobs removed, that's what she likened it to. And I mean, she never gave me an option of doing that. But then I just thought, if we're still at E and what are we going to next, and it's not going to get to a B anytime soon, maybe I am just going to have to come to terms with the way they are. And am I at that stage yet now? I don't know. I don't think so.
You think you might
I'm still like, like, maybe we'll see. I don't know. We'll see. But I feel like a lot of the reason also why it was like I didn't want to give up when it came to the boobs, because they were so big once upon a time, it was very, like, I remember being a child, and even in uni, to be fair, looking for bras was impossible. And I could never just find bras I liked just at shop. Then when, you know, Pretty Little Thing, Boohoo, and all these online websites started popping up, I would buy something and then my boobs would just make it look horrible. Or another thing, I couldn't find clothes that would even fit. And then I remember the first time when I was going to Croatia, a big reason why I was like, no, these boobs need to go. When I'm then looking for bikinis for my first ever like girls holiday, I can't look on Pretty Little Thing. They didn't at that time. I think Pretty Little Thing was fairly new at the time. They didn't have anything that was aesthetically pleasing for, I would say, someone my age. Like everything was like granny stuff, like I distinctly remember in my mind, like I was looking on like M&S, and I was like, what am I doing on M&S? Like it was like a like I remember that like in the 50s, it was like a polka dot white bra with dots, and I was just like, what's going on?
I want lace.
I want, you know, something sassy. So then that's why I was like, it has to go.
Yeah, they've come a long way now.
They've come a lot. Like now, they've come in such a long way. They're more
lace and
it's definitely more body inclusive. But at that time, so even in addition to me wanting the surgeries for myself, I felt like the outside world was not accommodating to the size that I was. So really, I felt like these websites were saying to me, you have to lose weight, get rid of these boobs,
or you want to get cute.
Do you get it? So then it's like, I kind of, even though I feel like I had to grow to love it, grow to want my boobs to be different, because I was just tired of living in a world where I felt like nothing was accommodating to me.
100%.
So that, that was also a big motivation as to why I was like, the boobs have to go.
I can agree with you. Like, just touching on fashion really quickly, like growing up bigger, so you're saying like, you know, like granny, do you remember like mufti days at school? Like, oh my god, I would struggle.
Really?
Because why should I be going to shop with my mum in Next?
It's not like Matalan, like Sassy Babe, what's going on?
Like, do you know what I mean? Like, why can't I dress up like my peers? No, it's annoying that it's only now, and I'm happy for like the younger generation that they can like be plus size and still like dress like their peers and still look cute.
Exactly.
But that was a time
I did not enjoy at all. And it's like, I remember when if you had bigger boobs and you were younger, it's not like when it came to bra shopping for me at least, it was always, oh, you have to book a consultation and they'll measure your this and I just thought I just want to go to just pick up a bra and go home. What's all of this? Oh, book a consultation. Somebody needs to. I just said, oh, what's that? Yeah. So it was just. It just felt like I wasn't able to enjoy life being bigger. Do you know what I mean? So I think maybe subconsciously that then made it as I got older where I was like, to me it's actually do or die, be slimmer or I'm not with it. Yeah. Do you get what I mean? So yeah, that's how that was.
Definitely. I feel like society definitely does that, and that's why I feel like obviously people shouldn't be mean about other people's weight. That's not what I'm saying, but I do feel like that's why it doesn't surprise me that people have like gastric sleeves and they have this and they have that. Because, that's why it doesn't surprise me that people have procedures, because society isn't very kind to people that don't have a certain body image, whether that is like clothing, whether it's media, it's hard. So I just think we do need to be kinder to people in the sense of that. I feel like people are so quick to judge. It will literally, I will see it online, be the same person body shaming in one post that would be the same person shaming someone for having surgery in the next.
Yeah.
It's mind blowing.
And that's what, and I didn't, and there was, I think when it comes to my surgeries, at least 2 things I didn't anticipate was, 1, having such backlash to having surgery.
Really?
Was the first thing. Because as far as I was concerned was you've not made, the world itself has not been very accommodating to me being big, has made me then feel insecure about being big. I then give in to, you know, what your body ideals are and decide to make a change to somehow fit whatever stereotype there is of what people want. Yep. And then now I'm, oh, wow, like, you went and got surgery done, like, look at you. And I just thought, and then that's what it just made me realise, well, then I can't win then, can I? Because really, I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't.
Exactly.
So that was definitely something that was interesting. And oftentimes, especially when I'm talking to my male friends, they always will say things like, they can't, like, I'll say to them, when I was 19 or 18 thinking about surgery, I didn't, because most of the reason I was getting it done was for myself, did I then anticipate at like 25, 26, where I then have the body I guess I like now, the harassment that would come with it?
Yes.
No.
What is that like? Because men are mad.
Sometimes I feel like I'm almost not allowed to be upset by the level of harassment because I made the decision to go and do it. Cool. But I made the decision as a 19-year-old who wasn't happy with her body, not thinking that I was then going to be 26 feeling like I'm being sexualized every single day of my life. Like that wasn't in the cards for me when I made the initial decision. The attention was nice at first because it's like, oh, I'm feeling validated, I'm feeling seen. Yeah. But then it's like, if it's Sunday and I want to pop down to Lidl, no, I don't want to feel harassed when I'm alone and by myself and I'm just wearing whatever. I don't want to feel like that at all. And whereby now I've had surgery for 5 years. I've had all these operations and it's been 5 years. The concept of surgery is not new to me, nor is the concept of how I look. It's not new to me. So when I guess new people who see me and they're so, I guess, in awe of it, and they just like, sometimes they're just so forward, it's so off-putting. Now it makes me angry because it's just like, go away, like, why are you so annoying? But I guess I'm not looking at it from their lens whereby they're not used to, they've never seen someone who looks,
I mean, I don't care, I'm sorry, like, okay, like, act like a human being.
Literally, still, that's what it is.
If that's like me going to like China and be like, oh, well, harassment because, you know, they've never seen a black person. So obviously it's not the same thing. But like, that's not the excuse we're going to use. I don't care if you've never seen it.
No, really, to be fair, at the end of the day, that is what it should be. But I just wasn't used to, I wasn't prepared for that, how like the harassment would come. And then I guess that's more, and it got to a point whereby when I would be going out alone, I would have so much anxiety about going out by myself because I know how people are going to respond to me when I'm walking down the street. And sometimes the sexual advances can be really direct and really forceful. Really? And then it's just like, and whereby I feel like I'm someone who I can hold my own. I'm just like, but what if there is a girl who's in my similar position, but she's not as vocal and and that doesn't make her feel as comfortable? That must be so like alienating for her. So that's definitely been something crazy. And I think even more so, even in a broader sense of dating, it's like now if someone says they're interested in me, I don't know if they're genuinely interested in me or they just like what I look like. And it's like, I don't then, at times I kind of struggle between the like, oh, am I just this like sexual object for men now, whereby like they're just like, oh, I want to see what it's like with someone with a BBL, or are they actually interested in, you know, who I am? So kind of making that distinguishing between those things has been like more than difficult. That has been more than difficult trying to navigate through. It's still something I still have to like actively look at every time I get into a situation with someone. But those are definitely two things I would not have been able to anticipate at the time.
Yeah, of course. As you said, you were young. You weren't thinking like, okay, how's this going to affect my dating life?
At
you
all.
thinking, I just want to be a babe.
Literally.
Yeah. Oh, I get that completely. And you said like sometimes it's been direct. Is it like...
So like if I'm walking down the street, just making comments about my bum, or just like, it's just like, it just makes me feel uncomfortable. It's just like, why are you? Why? Or if someone will approach me on the street and they're trying to speak to me, they're talking, but they're looking at my bum, or they're looking at my shape, and then I'm just like, they don't even hide it.
Can you pretend?
Like it's just like I'm just like, and then it becomes you start feeling like. I start feeling secondary to my own body. Like it's like, oh, my body is the main attraction, and then I am just if anyone cares. So do you see what I mean? So that started feeling upsetting, because it's just like I didn't feel like myself anymore. I felt like disconnected from my body in a sense. So, and whereby naturally I like very form like hugging kind of clothes. It doesn't help that that's the kind of clothes I enjoy anyway, and then I have the body I have because it draws more attention naturally. So it got to a point, even with like just being in my area and running errands, anytime I was running errands alone, I would then feel a necessity to buy bigger clothing just to hide it. And then I was just like, I still do it from time to time. It just really just depends on how I am that day. But then it's like, I should be able to wear whatever I want, wherever I want to wear it, and not feel like I'm going to be harassed or stared at. But then it's like, at the back of my mind, even though I'm like, should be able to, no one should be able to make me feel uncomfortable, I always then have like a voice at the back of my head that's like, okay, cool, you feel like that, but then you put yourself in this predicament though. So, and I know that's probably not the best stance to take on it.
I understand why it's your stance, but it's not the correct one. Like, no. Like, we need to.
You know what I always used to liken it to? If a child sees a hot stove and then puts their hand in the hot stove and then you cry about it, you're the one that put your hand there. But so why are you then upset?
Did they do that to make themselves happy, or were they just being fast?
Do you see what I mean? And it may be a micro. And I always say to my friends, if I could turn back the hands of time and not get any surgical work done because I knew what my life would now be at this age, I wouldn't ever take any of it back.
Okay, that's
so
what that matters,
at the end of the day, I'm happy with everything I've done. I guess I just thank God that I've never had any complications.
Yes.
I've never been, quote unquote botched or anything like that. But would I take anything back? No. Like, I love the way I look. Good. So yeah, that's really what that is.
Good. I think that's important. The fact that you love the way that you look, that's then definitely all the harassment, that just needs to stop. It's not I shouldn't have done this because of that.
No,
it's
never.
Just
Never.
Cool. Okay, so what advice would you give to anyone who is thinking about getting any sort of cosmetic procedure?
I would say, I think the biggest advice I would give is mainly based on the things I think have been most helpful to me during my journey. So I would say, if you're considering surgery, finding like a surgery advisor or a surgery coordinator, that would be really helpful, because typically the people who are surgery coordinators, they've had surgery themselves, or they're very versed in that field, so they can kind of give you like a round-the-way breakdown of what you'll need, what you like. They'll be able to answer your questions really thoroughly. So my first time I went to DR, I had a consultant. She was based in America. She was based in New York, so I had to pay for her services, and she had a service called I think it was all the way surgery consultancy, and she helped me find a doctor. She helped me pick a villa to stay in the recovery home. She answered all the questions I had at the time. So it's like I felt very supported throughout my journey. And then naturally, because she was my coordinator answering my questions, I then became very versed on like all things surgery. So like when my friends now consider surgery, they'll come and ask me, and I feel like I'm in a position whereby I can advise, because I know so much now. So that is really useful. And two, the surgery community on Instagram it's such a beautiful community, honestly speaking, because girls who are considering surgery, have had surgery, or what we like to call vets, they are able to just, there's always just a circle of information going around all the time. So even if you can't afford the consultancy services, because I remember in pounds, I think it was about £200 I had to pay, you'll have a vet who's more than happy for you to speak to her on Instagram. And you just have a community of sisters who really do understand you. Because most of the girls I followed on Instagram were from America, like even some of them now, I'm really good friends with them. One of them who I spoke to a lot of the time during my second surgery process, she's coming to London at the end of the month before I go, and I'm meeting her. So it's like you really have like a sisterly bond because they understand you.
How do you get to these things for the people that don't know? Like, do you just type in the search bar?
So normally, what I would, so you can just make a normal Instagram, and a lot of the people, surgery girls refer to themselves as dolls. So they'll typically have the surgeon they're going to, like let's say it's Dr. Chang, it will be like Chang Doll 2023. Like that's a lot of their usernames follow that kind of format. And then so you can follow like Real Self is really good. I think that's that's more so a website, like a forum. And then on Instagram, you'll have am I allowed to say people's names?
Are they private people?
No, they have open. So once someone I found really helpful, surgeon made curves. She did consultancy work with Cardi B as well. Nice. So she's really popular, and she kind of has an online surgery platform that's open as well. And then my coordinator was Beauty and the Surgeon. Beauty and the Surgeon. Her name's Marie. She had she's the one I did the consultancy services with. And then in those comments, you'll see those dolls with similar names, like I've said. You'll follow them, they'll follow you. Then they'll post something and with other people. So that's how you kind of build your network through stuff like that. So I found that really helpful. And I think those are kind of like my biggest support systems while I was new and trying to figure out where to go.
I think that's so important. I'm not against surgery. I'm against ill-advised surgery. And that's the only thing I'm against in regards to surgery, because I know it can be like life-threatening. So I think it's so good that there's a community out there that can tell you, go this, do this. I've learned from this. I wouldn't do this next time. I think that's really important if you're someone thinking about those things. Definitely. I feel like the gastric sleeve community does have similar things. It would be the tag is usually VSG. If you just type that in on Instagram, you'll find a lot of people. I will also say Raina PT. She's amazing. She's a PT who deals with people. So if you are into the gym thing, she deals with clients who have had gastric, because it's a different body journey. And also Katita VSG. These are Katita's American. Very, very informative. And then the last one is Nikki VSG. And why I would say she's my favorite, because she's similar to me, as in she had a gastric sleeve, and I think she looks amazing. But of course, it's like people always expect, it's VSG_Nikki. People expect you to kind of have like a certain look after, and she's still quite thick, but she works hard. She looks amazing. So those are three that I would recommend. Do you have any questions for me?
I was thinking one. Let's do it. You mentioned how like you've gotten it done and you had a look that you was going for. Was that, did you still want to, was your aim to be really slim, or were you still hoping to still have a bit of, weight to you? And why, do you feel like you're disappointed with your results?
I'm 100% disappointed.
Okay.
And I feel like, okay, so I wanted to have like my bum. Yeah. And I think, but I actually did want to be skinny. I've never been skinny before. I wanted to try it.
Yeah,
like that was literally what it is. And it's like, obviously as well, if I'm paying for a procedure, let it be drastic.
Yeah.
So yes, I am, like, I don't regret doing it, but I am disappointed with the results, especially because I know I didn't do anything to hinder it. If I did, I would put my hands up and be like, maybe I shouldn't have done this, maybe I shouldn't have done that. But I worked hard. Like I was always at the gym. I obviously physically couldn't eat anyway. And I got sick as well, which is just all annoying to not achieve what I had in my head. I couldn't say a size, but definitely I wanted to be skinny. Sorry. And I'm not like, as I said, like I've had a plus size body all my life, but it was something that I did want to achieve, hence why I made the choice to have the surgery. So yeah, it was disappointing for me, I'll be honest.
Do you know why it is that I mean, they always say it kind of varies in terms of how much weight you will lose anyway, but has that kind of been the answer when you've spoken to like the people you went to and said, why is it I've not lost more?
Exactly. I think everyone always says everyone's journey is different. And I know people say that, but why did it have to be mine? But so it is that, it was that. And they're like, okay, maybe you should like cut out this completely. I'm very skeptical of that because like, I'm like you also, I want to enjoy my life. I don't excessively eat because I physically cannot, but I don't want it to be like, well, you can never have pasta again and that's how it's going to stay off, because that's just not sustainable for me. And I think what frustrates me is obviously there's a community and they're all lovely, but I'll see people who like the whole procedure, they didn't touch the gym once and they are like a size 2. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh my God, so what? Like, why my body? Why? So no, I don't have a reason. I think that's what's more annoying. Obviously, I'm a year and a half, I want to say, a year and a half, like post-op. So I'm still working at it. I'm still switching it up. Like now I don't eat red meat. Now I'm intermittent fasting and I'm like trying to see, is that going to work? So I'm still on the journey, but I can say like right now, no, I'm not happy.
What were some of like the biggest surprises that you like, or things that you didn't think would happen after you started losing weight? Like what was the most surprising thing about the whole journey really?
Most surprising thing, oh my God, I knew I wasn't going to be able to eat, but not being able to eat. Like,
really?
Yeah, like proper not being and not being hungry. I thought it was going to be like, you can't eat, but you kind of still hungry. I was literally like not hungry. And it's like, I couldn't remember a time in my life when I could eat. You know what I mean? Like maybe when you're not that hungry, but someone's like, oh, I'm getting a Chinese. Like, I could eat.
Yeah.
Like, no, I cannot eat. I don't want it. I'm not. So that was actually quite surprising.
Is it a feeling of bloatedness or just, I just don't want to eat?
Pressure. So when you're full, pressure on your stomach. Other than that, you just don't want to eat. Like, you're just not hungry. It's really hard to explain, but you're just not hungry. Like, you know, when you're bored at home, normally you can just think, like, let me go snack on something.
Yeah.
No.
It's not even that.
It's not even that. The day if you can lie in bed the whole day, you won't eat. Yeah, so that was odd. And even though I still didn't lose as much as I thought, there was still definitely a change in people's like behaviors towards you, which is very odd.
And just even touching on that, I'm not sure, but if correct me if I'm wrong, have you been someone that's kind of been more plus size like majority of your life?
Majority of my life.
So how would you compare and contrast like the differences in terms of how people's treatment of you has been?
Girls.
Wow,
Okay. Nicer, yeah.
So, you feel like they've been nicer?
Yeah.
Oh,
mad,
wow.
Right? Yeah, so like in like the club and stuff like that, just more chill. Like, I'm a very like
yeah.
And I feel like before it kind of was met like a whereas now it's like, hey girl, like it's so odd. It's actually girls that I've seen the difference in. Yeah,
because I guess somewhat if they, even as a girl, if they're seeing you as quote unquote more desirable, that they're more willing to have you around.
That's so sad.
Yeah, and it is, but it is. That's what it is. And sometimes even, I guess even with me, because I think when people look at me, they have a particular perception of how they think I'm going to be.
And you're not.
And the thing is, I am so far from what people think, or think I'm going to act like, or think I'm going to speak like. So it's like, when I meet people and I'm like, oh, they think that because we look similar, that we're going to click up, or we're going to be the girls going to tape. Yeah. And then even though, don't trust me, don't get me wrong, I love a party.
I know.
I love a party, but then am I a mean girl that's going to be just picking my friends based on aesthetics? Never has been me and never will be me. So I guess I can relate to girls thinking you'll be a certain way based on how you look from that kind of lens. Crazy. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, that was what blew me. I was like, oh, okay.
But you know how I was saying earlier how I feel like with the guys treating you better kind of thing, how it's like, oh, you kind of have to vet out more if they're like seriousness, if they're like really serious. I guess it's also a good thing, because if I feel like they are treating me a certain way because of how they think I look, then it's easier for me to just be like, oh, I don't know.
Yes.
Whereby if there had been a consistency in my look from childhood to now, I think it'd be a bit harder for me to like determine what's real and what's not. Whereby now I know the little things to look for to know if they're genuinely interested or not, and then it's easier for me to be like, nah, this ain't it.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Bye. But I feel like with men it's a bit tough because men do go by looks.
Yeah.
Like, let's be real. Like, they could actually genuinely like you, but obviously at first it is like, I'm enamored by the way she looks. Like, I like that. And then they'll get to know your personality, which is really dope. So they'll be like, oh, okay, cool. So I feel like it would be more that.
Yeah.
But then obviously there would be that, wouldn't even try to get to know the personality.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I think.
If you could just like when you got to Turkey, just condense how the journey was, how the doctors were, what they spoke to you about, that kind of stuff.
Yes, Turkey, lovely. Like you, very nice, very simple, lovely procedure. My doctor, I would recommend if you're getting a sleeve, his name is Dr. Ismail. He's very strict. I would say that. Like,
okay, why do you say that?
Because everyone else's doctors, like, for example, so the day after they could have like juice, and he was like, he made us like, zero nil to mouth for like 2 days, and then after it was like just water. Like, he was not playing. He's like, you are not going to break my sleeve. Like, yeah. So he's very strict, and then he runs down everything that you can no longer do after you get the sleeve. Like, you cannot eat this, you cannot do this, you cannot So I would say he was strict in that sense, but he was very lovely. Also, what I liked, you had like a full body test after before. So even though I didn't get the results I want, like finding out certain things like pre-diabetic and like fatty liver grade and all the stuff like that, finding out all those things about you, especially if you've always been big, but after the pandemic got a lot, during and after pandemic got a lot bigger, finding out there was actually like issues with your health, and if you didn't do this now, it could have affected you. I'm very grateful that they offered that. The whole hospital felt like a hotel room. It was really nice. Yeah, it was literally like, I guess what a private would be here.
I mean, I maybe because I've never been to a private hospital in the UK, I don't really visit the hospital a lot, to be fair. Turkish hospitals are beautiful.
What? Right?
They literally look like museums.
Yeah.
No, literally like art museums. It's scary. Like, I didn't expect, and not even because it's like a foreign hospital. I just always expect hospitals to look ugly and like bleak. Yeah. But it was so pretty.
Right, they're like TV.
Literally.
And, like, the bathroom.
I feel like I was in the Tate Modern. Yeah, like, it was so nice.
No, yeah. So that made me comfortable. Like, as well as that unexplainable pain. You said, I just wanted to touch on that. I was like, yes. Like, I feel like I've been hit by a bus after.
Oh gosh.
But I think yours would have been worse because you had 2 procedures. So it's like the pain's from everywhere.
It was like an itch, and my body was really itchy. And I just remember my bum was so hard. Like, I couldn't. Well, you can't sit on it anyway, but it was just hard. Like, I literally looked like a robot. That's like a transformer. Like, because everything was just so blocky at first. Do you know what I mean? Of course, with time it loosened up, but at first I was just like, oh my goodness, what have I done?
Yeah. Oh, I was like, what have I done because of the pain? Like, what is this? Ow. But yeah, I get that. But
and well, I guess the last question for me. Were you ever concerned about losing too much weight? Because I get it, like, even if you were a bigger person, there is still, I've seen loads of really big people, and then they lose the weight and they become really skinny. Where it almost looks sickly. And that's something that I am and was really scared about when I was considering the whole thing.
I was scared of that. I was scared of like that with the loose skin, which I can say is the only benefit for me losing it very slowly. I don't have a lot of loose skin because I didn't lose it. But yeah, I was scared of being like, have you watched the episode of Family Guy?
Where what?
When like the woman comes out of the hospital
and her skin is all saggy. Listen, that was something I was just thinking about, but it's just because, and another thing, I think also the control aspect, whereby with the BBL and stuff, you have to wear garments. If you don't wear the garments, it doesn't help you. If it's like, it's more so a cause and reaction kind of relationship with the BBL, whereby it sounds like the gastric, it's whatever your body decides it wants to do. 100%. And that's the fear, because it's like, I have no control really over what my results.
Stop it.
I can't stop
now.
it. Because if I get to a weight and I'm like, okay, this is cool, my body might be like,
I want to keep going.
I want to keep going. So
it's tough. Do you know how much percentage you're taking out?
So the lady I was talking about, Surgeon May Curves, she did a mini. So she's had BBL and lipo procedures too, but she recently did a mini. Well, I think maybe like a year and a half ago she did one, and she said that she opted to do the mini. Now, I don't think the mini one is like an official like procedure, but the mini is whereby, from what she explained, that they would take up between 50 and 60%. And instead of the 80 to 85. So I think that's just a conversation I'm gonna have with the team when I get there, because I just don't know where I fall. Because some days I'm like, let me do 60, but then some days I'm like, oh no, I probably should do the 80. But I obviously will say to them what my concerns are, that I just don't want to lose too much weight.
They might give you like a diet plan that
do you know kind of aid me.
Because like maybe if you eat more of these and but in liquid form, I don't know. I'm still I think. But yeah, I think that's everything from you.
That's all from me.
Thank you so much. Thank you for speaking. Thank you for sharing. Guys, if you have any questions, send them to me, send it to my guest. She'll share it. But I really hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was informative. And honestly, if you have any questions, please send them through to The Good Space. And thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing.